Welcome to the Pompe.Community Open Meeting, second open meeting. Today, the main focus is going to be the data collection project, and walk us through that. We're going to hear from Paloma to take us through some context, and then a little bit from the Global Genes RareX team to talk about some nuts and bolts, and then we'll come back and finish it up with some recap and discussion. So yeah. Thanks everybody for coming, and Paloma, all yours.
Well, hello, friends. We are so thrilled to be able to actually see this project to fruition. So let's go ahead and recap what this entails and kind of what our goals are. Ryan, with, all the latest technology, you can use this QR code. It is going to take you to our recorded very first meeting. That will give you some more context to not just the data collection project itself, but Pompe.Community as a whole. All right, so why? So this is actually a timeline of of just our disease in itself. Some major milestones, things from the discovery of things to this concept of lysosomal storage disorders to the very first clinical trials for Myozyme Lumizyme, to today, where we now have 3 FDA approved enzyme replacement therapies, 3 of which all for late onset patients, and the 2 newest still working on FDA approval for our younger IOPD kiddos. Okay. So our goal or idea in this is, well, this timeline is truly impressive, and we are grateful for the place and position that we are in now. How do we continue to work further? We are not only saving lives and giving children and adults more opportunities than ever before with Pompe disease, but now how do we start thinking about things that we never thought possible? So in doing that, we have a hypothesis. How do we get to more understanding of disease progression? How do we get to better focuses on support systems within school systems for our children living with this diagnosis, moving on to more efficient treatments, and not just in disease progression, but maybe one that allows adults and teenagers and children more opportunities to sustain a life similar to those within their own family units. And so our thought here was that it can't just simply rely on doctors, on pharmacy communities, or even just us as a whole. It's one large group, all of us in partnership. I think a very interesting thing and something that we should all be aware of is, as we're moving forward in the rare disease landscape here in this day and age, it is not just about a singular group here that we see. It is really more so these little people at the bottom, patients and families, that are driving forces to make relationships and connections and partnerships with all these other bubbles. When I had the privilege of attending the White House Rare Disease Forum in February, the first of its kind at the executive branch level, it was not filled with rooms of scientists or people from the FDA or NIH. While they were represented, the focus really was on patient advocacy and patient organizations. What we are seeing and what the federal government is now seeing is that the demand and push is not coming from these other groups, but us ourselves, and that the power lies within us to work together as a community. And that's what we are really honing in on, is our passion and our expertise in our own disease while using the talents of all the other people within these groups. Next slide. So kind of our vision and mission is, again, we want an area or a place that all of these ecosystems can intersect, from advocates, from patients, researchers, clinicians. Anybody that's just curious about Pompe in general is always going to be able to give us some kind of assistance in moving our vision forward. The consortium will develop responsible and respectful structure to enable the entire ecosystem to thrive with patient outcomes at the center. Again, focusing and honing in on the fact that we as the community are the ones that are going to be the driving force. Patient-owned data collection, data connection, and community pooling of data is a critical vehicle to accelerating knowledge and development. Again, our experience is a currency that is undeniably important in this space. And so how do we safely with our own rules and guidelines, allow people to understand our experience, not just in an anecdotal way, but in a scientific one. Our foundational beliefs, I think we've kind of covered some of that. Data has value when used, so it should be accessible. All right, so we have come up with Pompe.Community, and this is this is the overhead. This is us, right? It's architected by our Pompe consortium, and I will get to kind of divvying out what exactly that means. And we are being supported from Global Genes, who have been an incredibly crucial partner to really not just empowering us, but allowing us the organization tools to kind of succeed in these efforts. So what is the consortium? So I'd like us to think of the idea that Pompe.Community is the building that we're building, that all of us are going to reside, that every scientist, pharma, researcher, med student, home infusion nurse looking for some understanding and information will all kind of reside and find community in. The consortium itself is like the project management team. It is the group that is here kind of assigning or helping each and every level of that. How do we decorate this floor and what is it going to be used for? So there's multiple roles within that, and it is open to all of us to be able to use and be a part of. We do have partnerships already with some very familiar Pompe organizations from lovely members within our community. And we're always looking to expand and include more as we grow this. So today, what we're really talking about, and this is also another component of our Pompe community, a very critical component, is our data collection project with RareX, and how we can launch this project to, again, be able to use our experiences and have it in a way and collect it in a way that is going to be useful in the long term. But participation from all of us is key. Ryan, do you have anything I should add to that, you think? He's annoyed that I asked that.
Not annoyed at all. I think you're doing a great job. Yeah, just reiterating that the community is intended to be inclusive. It is that town square, that building, that physical and representative space for each of us to come and provide some service or receive something out of. And then the architects of that community, this is just tying back to the language that's used on the branding here, is done by the consortium. And that consortium, importantly, it's not about giving patients a seat at the table or giving so-and-so a seat at the table, or it's about us coming together collectively and imagining how the strategy gets developed in a cross-functional way, so that each of us and each of the things that we care about and each of the roles that we contribute to the ecosystem can be considered in the direction setting and steering in the ways that we support the public-facing community part of it. So we'll see a little bit more about how to get involved towards the end, but yeah, the next up is going to be about the data collection project.
Okay, so data collection project. First and foremost, we want to stress this is patient owned and managed. This is going to be us deciding all of these things. Most importantly, RareX is our partner. They are not selling data. They do not have the right to sell data. They are here really empowering us and giving us the platform of which to do this, and not just a productive way, but a very safe way, right? Privacy is such a concern when we're talking about individuals, and they really do a great job of making sure that all of that is squared away. This is a global data collection project, so this is not US focused. While these meetings, unfortunately, right now are in English, we are working with RareX to make sure that we are speaking to each and every person globally. If anyone would like to help us with some of this interpretation at the beginning, we would greatly appreciate that. And please make sure to see the contact info at the end. Infrastructure costs supported by industry participants. So people in companies within our community have actually helped sponsor this. Partnership and support for patient advocacy organizations. Again, there's very familiar faces attached to this. Structured standardized data to enable comparison of data sets. We're getting a little more technical here, but again, I think what we're driving home is right now we have a lot of people who are willing to talk and share their experience, but because it is not collected in a way such as structured standardized data, it is not necessarily considered helpful, more so anecdotal. And we're really looking to be able to take all of this information and have it in a way that helps us build research. Governance is handled, including handling of PHI, protected health information. Again, RareX is the community that is the leader in this and working on this for us. And so because they are doing that, we have de-identified but raw data that is able for us to give researchers access to. And at the end, the goal always is the sooner that we can have quicker research, the sooner that drug development hopefully can move along, or we can have better understandings of where that drug development path needs to begin focused and moving towards. We are so excited. We are going to do this today. I'm excited for this day to come. And we're going to let Caitlin tell us all about it.
Great. Thank you, Paloma. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We're so excited to be launching the data collection program for the Pompe community. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go through some slides just outlining a little bit about RareX, but then also the process for you all as the community to get engaged and enrolled in the data collection program. And just a reminder, along the way, if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll be able to answer them in there. And we'll also have time at the end to address any questions. Great. So what is RareX? RareX is a program of global genes that was created to accelerate rare disease research and treatments by removing those barriers around data collection and sharing. So data has been collected but has been held in silos. And here at RareX, we are here to break down those silos when it comes to the collection of data, but also the sharing of data. RareX is a platform that we collect, connect, and then share that data. So this slide here just outlines a patient's journey into the data collection program. So you'll come in through your patient community, being the Pompe community. We've built out a community page, which will just kind of be a landing page into the data collection program that is specific for your Pompe community. I'll be sharing that on the next slide, and one of my team members will put that in the chat. From that page, you will then enroll in the data collection platform, go through basic terms of use, consents, data sharing preference agreements, and then you'll be brought to your patient dashboard, which is where you will begin filling out surveys. So here is your Pompe disease community page. So this will be the main page that you'll want to go to when it comes to the data collection program. So this page is specific for your disease. So you'll see photos from your community on here. And on the bottom here on the left, get started. When this is your first time enrolling in the data collection program to create your account, you will want to hit this get started button, and then I'll walk you through what those steps are. This is a great page to bookmark, have it saved, because at any time when you are wanting to come back and update any of your surveys, update general information or symptoms as they progress, you'll come back to this login button here. So what do you need to get started? You'll just need an email address and to create your password. Here's a list of our approved browsers for the best user experience. You can also try it on a mobile or tablet. And what you don't need to get started is a lot of time. This is not a one and done data collection program. So it's easy to just create your account and enroll today, but you don't have to sit down and finish it all at once. So once you hit that Get Started button on your community page, it will bring you to this Request Access First Time Login page. So this is where you'll be creating your account to enroll in the data collection program. So you'll add first name, last name, email, and then select if you are at least 18 years of age. and acknowledge if you are located in the United States or outside of the United States. This is a global data collection program, so you do not have to be in the United States to participate. This is just acknowledging that the data that's being collected is hosted on a server in the United States. You will then check a box for what type of account you're creating. So you can select as many as apply to you. So if you are a caregiver to a patient, you would want to select caregiver. And then once you've gone through the account creation process, you will then add your patient at that time. If you are a patient, you can select the patient and go through and create the account as the patient. There is also the option to enroll and create an account for a person who has lost a loved one. Once you fill out that page, you will receive an account creation email. If you haven't received this in about 5 minutes, check your spam or your junk folder. Sometimes different emails have different security settings. Any emails coming from the platform will be coming from RareX. And then you'll want to click Create Password and create your password from there. This will just be a standard creating of a password, and this will be the only time you have to go through this step of going to your email, creating a password, and going back. It will then prompt you to come to the general login page. So once you've gone in, entered your email, created a password, you'll be at this general login page. So if you come back at a later date to fill out new surveys, update your information, this is the same page you will see. So you'll input that email and your password that you created and sign in. Linked down below is a Global Genes privacy policy if you are interested in reading that. It is always linked on this page, as well as the terms of use. Great, so now you will be going, once you've signed in, you'll be going through what we call the mandatory workflow. This workflow only happens the first time you enroll and go through this account creation process. So the first thing you'll go through is the terms of use, which is for Matrix. Matrix is the technology platform that we host the data collection program on. So this terms of use just kind of outlines how the data is being collected on the technology platform. So you can read through it and then click this accept button when you're ready to move forward. From there, you're going to fill out the informed consent, which is 8 pages of detailed Q&A, ensuring you're understanding what this data collection program is and why you would be participating in it. Just a reminder that if you created an account as a caregiver, you will be filling out this informed consent as the caregiver. Once you add your patient, you will fill this out for the patient at that time as well. So it will go through 8 pages of different Q&A. There is a summarized answer to each question, but if you would like a more detailed answer, you can select this Learn More option here. So you'll go through and click this next button on 8 pages. And then it will bring you to the section where it's asking why you're taking part in this RareX data collection program. You can select all that apply. So for example, if you enrolled as a caregiver, you could say you are the parent or caregiver of a person who may have a rare disease, or you are the legally authorized representative of the person with the rare disease. You can check all that apply. You can then specify if you would like to be contacted by RareX for any follow-up research surveys and or clinical trials. Researchers will never reach out to you directly. They will always come through RareX. All of the data that researchers will be seeing will be de-identified data. So your name, date of birth will be removed from your data that researchers are accessing. So for them to be reaching out for, additional research studies or clinical trials, they would come through RareX. So if you are interested in being contacted, you can select yes or no here, and you can update this at any time. Once you go through all of that, you will then sign the informed consent. So if you have enrolled as a caregiver, you will want to make sure that you are putting your information when signing the informed consent. Once you go through the informed consent, you will be brought to the general information and demographics section. This is where you'll put information like first name, last name, address, race, ethnicity, gender, birthplace, and then estimated household income. For all of these, there is the option to say prefer not to answer. And we do receive a lot of questions why we ask, about estimated household income. We do have some researchers that are interested in doing research based off of socioeconomic status and demographics. So if that is something you're interested in, feel free to put the information, but you don't have to. There is always the prefer not to answer option. And just a reminder, if you did enroll as a caregiver, all of this would be for the caregiver. Great. So once you have gone through that as the caregiver, you'll be brought to a dashboard, which is when you can then add a patient. If you enrolled as a patient, you would go through those same steps, but would be answering as the patient. So to add a patient on the dashboard, you'll click this Add Patient option, and you can add as many patients as you would like to your dashboard. And just a quick look, so if you are adding multiple patients, it's really important to note that you always want to check who you're viewing to make sure that your answers to the surveys are representing the patient you are filling it out on behalf of. So for example, Macy, you're viewing Macy. So all of the surveys that you're filling out would be for Macy. Marilyn is the caregiver. So you'll always be able to see caregiver up at the top and then viewing whichever patient you are viewing. So once you add your patient, you would go back through that entire process of terms of use, informed consent, general demographics, and general information, and everything would be the same for the patient, except what ties us back to your community is the rare disease dropdown. So you'll see Pompe disease listed in the dropdown. So that is what ties your data back to the community. You are also able to select other rare diseases. So if you have additional diagnosis, you are able to put that in the dropdown. If you do not see it listed, feel free to put other, and there's a free text option that you can type it in. Now, as the patient, you will be going through the data sharing preference agreement. So this is where you, as the patient, will be owning and managing your data. So you will be able to manage who has access to your data and put restrictions if you would like. So the first option is general research. This is the broadest type of research. When you choose general research, researchers can use it for health, medical, and biomedical research, but also other kinds of studies, such as research on age, race, ethnicity, demographics, genetic traits of different populations. But if you would like it solely for health, medical, and biomedical, you would select option 2 here. You are able to put additional limits and restrictions onto the use of your data. So you can select if you are interested in your research solely for non-commercial purposes, or if you only want it for research that has been approved by an institutional review board or an IRB. All of this can be updated at any time. So if you're comfortable putting general research at the beginning, but then at a later date, you would like to add more restrictions onto your research in your data, you can come back and update it at any time. It will then ask about biospecimens, if you know if there's any that have been collected, and if you're interested in the collection of biological samples for research. If you select yes for being interested in the collection of it, once RareX is collecting biosamples, we would then reach out to you about that. There is the option if you would like your contact information shared with patient advocacy groups that are supporting the community. So here at RareX, we take data privacy and security very seriously. And so any of the patient communities that would have access to contact information and or summarize data on a data dashboard will be going through something we called city training, which is data and ethics training, to ensure that data ethics, are at the highest importance and your data is protected. We always talk about de-identified data when it comes to researchers. So all researchers will have de-identified data. The only information that would be identified would be if you would like your information on a community contact list, meaning first name, last name, email. It would never be connected with your data. The goal of this is to really be able to give back to the patient advocacy groups when it comes to support and advocacy and different initiatives that they might have going on. So if you are interested in this, you can select yes. You can update this at any time. So don't feel like you have to make a decision today, but you can update this at any time. There is also the option for your data to be included in a summarized format on a data dashboard. So those same patient advocacy leaders that have gone through that city data ethics training would get access to a data dashboard where they can see summarized numbers such as enrollment numbers, demographics, where is the community that's enrolled in the data collection program located. So if you'd like your data to be included on that dashboard, you can select yes. If you don't, you can select no. Next, it's going to ask if the patient has had genetic testing done. If you have your genetic test report, we highly encourage you to upload it because here at RareX, we do have a genetic curation team that is able to curate genetic reports and extract that genetic information from those reports and upload it and have it connected to your data set. So if you do have a genetic report that you would like to upload, you can select yes. If you select no, that you don't have a test, but you might not have a copy, just know if you select no here, you can still upload it at a later date. So don't worry if you don't have it on hand or you need to look for it when you're enrolling, you can upload it at another time. Next, through the mandatory workflow, it is going to prompt you to do the main survey, which is the head-to-toe survey. This survey is going to ask questions from your head to your toe. Very, simple, generic questions about different systems of the body that will then enable the branching logic for the additional surveys. Over on the side here, you will see a time to complete as well as number of questions in each survey. The time to complete is a very conservative time, so don't feel like you need to set aside a ton of time to fill out these surveys. It's a very conservative time. The head-to-toe survey will ask basic questions like, have you had issues with eyes or vision? If you select yes or unsure, that will then trigger a level 2 survey that will go more in depth into that specific symptom. If you select no, then you will not receive an additional survey. Up in the right-hand corner, there is a red X. At any time you're filling out a survey, you can hit that red X and it will save and exit the survey. So when you come back to fill it back out, you won't have to start over from the beginning as long as you hit that red X. Another survey we'd like to highlight is the diagnosis survey. This will, by selecting Pompe disease in that disease dropdown under general information, this will trigger additional information in this diagnosis survey. In the diagnosis survey, it will ask about any subdiagnosis you may have. So for example, infantile onset Pompe disease or late onset Pompe disease. And just to note that throughout this survey of the diagnosis survey, it will refer to you. And if you are filling it out as the caregiver, you is the patient. So just make sure when you're filling it out, it's for the patient. Throughout the survey, it will also ask additional information about family history. So this is a great place to add that information here as well. Here's a look at the level 2 survey. So from that main head to toe survey where you're filling out just basic symptoms, from every yes or unsure, that will then trigger that level 2 survey. Here's a look at what a level 2 survey looks like, and it will go more in depth into, do you see this symptom? What was the age that this symptom first appeared? The age of diagnosis. So the goal with these surveys is to really track the progression of symptoms. So we encourage you every year to come back and update these surveys. On every level 2 survey, down at the bottom, there is a please describe option. So if you're going through a survey and you see that it's not covering a certain symptom or issue that the patient might be experiencing, please include it in the please describe box below. We just ask that you try to remove any identifying information. So instead of saying the patient's name or he, she, they, please try to put the patient is experiencing this or the patient has that. Two surveys we'd like to highlight that are very beneficial for your community would be the first pediatric upper extremity function survey. As you can see, it is 20 questions and estimating about 5 minutes to complete. And then the pediatric fatigue short form, which is 10 questions and 5 minutes to complete. There will be additional surveys as well on the platform, but these are just two that we would like to highlight. Once you've gone through and completed surveys on your dashboard, all of your new surveys that you have not completed and or you are in progress of completing will be in this new and in progress tab. Once you've finished a survey, it will then become available in your completed tab. If you go over to the ellipsis on the right, you can view your surveys at any time. You can also retake them at any point. And when you retake a survey, it will not replace that first version that you took. So for example, here, you can see the health and development survey was taken for the first time in January. In August, this patient went and updated and retook this survey. You see both instances, and researchers will see both instances from each survey. You can also download and email any of the surveys that you filled out for yourself, for your records, to take into doctor's offices, to use. We've had lots of patients let us know that they've used it in the school system when it comes to IEP meetings. So we want to make this as readily available for you all as possible. So feel free to email and download them as a PDF for yourself. If you have any questions or technical issues along the way, you can reach out to our rarexsupport email, where Bridget on the call here is able to answer any of the questions you might have, even if it's something as simple as my password's not working, can you help me reset it? Or if you have questions, the wording in this survey is a little confusing, can you help clarify? Or why am I receiving the survey? Please feel free to reach out to our team. And also please CC the info@Pompe.Community as well. Great. Are there any questions? Yes, this is active now.
That's the best question and the best answer that we've got on any of it.
Yep, so I'll put a link in the chat. You can go to that link and start enrolling today. And let us know if you have any questions along the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. So just a quick summary and recap. Again, RareX, because dealing with people's data is no joke, and there's strict regulations for handling this type of data, which are ever evolving and also differ by jurisdiction and country. And they're well versed in handling that. They've got an existing platform that is cross disease, and that part's really, really important and cool for certain types of research questions that we'll be able to contribute to that are even that benefit our community directly, but then also benefit the rare disease ecosystem as a whole. What you'll see as a result of the head-to-toe survey, if you go on right away, there's 5, I believe, 4 or 5 instruments. Instruments is the technical term for some of these variables or surveys that we're collecting. There's a handful of those that are commonly used that'll look super familiar from other places that you've experienced that in Pompe, that are live today, and we're in the process of bringing more on. And so yeah, it's live today for contributors of data and for users of data, so researchers, etc. If you have a researcher that you're working with or a doctor, this is for them as well. We've got some additional variables in process and additional languages, and a note on languages. There's translating all these kinds of Pompe Consortium and Pompe Community type of content and stuff that we're doing. That's one task, but then the onboarding of languages properly within the data platform is more than just translation. And so RareX is actively working a roadmap of adding languages there. And I won't speak on behalf of that, but I'm going to introduce Carmen in a second, just to say I think what the loose time frame for some of those are. We'll also be adding on the capability to add non-diagnosed individuals into the platform coming soon. And again, to think about this is if you're the parent of a child and one has a diagnosis and one does not, that kind of comparative might be useful for certain research questions. If that's something that you want to do, there's no requirement to do so, of course. So there's a bunch of sort of unlocking future research that is impossible or hard to do today that we'll be able to do. As Caitlin mentioned, it's very much on your time and guidance on how frequently you interact with it. We'll have some guidance coming out of the data working group, but again, it's all on your time and works with you. Make healthy use of the support emails. All of this thing is evolving. And so if you have ideas, if you have frustrations, if you experience anything, that's one of the really wonderful things about this partnership is the opportunity to try to evolve things. This isn't just some Global Genes and Rare X aren't some faceless organization. They're organizations with deep roots in the rare disease community and just an incredible track record of evolving to support the rare disease community. This meeting will be available on the YouTube channel within a week or so. We'll also make sure to include any of the links that have been highlighted into the video description. And we'll have info sessions and office hours that'll be announced shortly. And that they'll be at various days and times to support different time zones and schedules that folks might have. So make sure to sign up for the mailing list on the website, follow on socials, follow any of the member orgs on socials, et cetera, to stay up to date with what's going on there. There's some links for that, and I'll just leave it on this page for a minute while I introduce Carmen just as our fearless leader on the for the project side on the Global Genes side of things to say hi and any words that you want to say, and then we'll open it up to questions, discussion, et cetera.
Well, I'm very happy to say hi. I'm Carmen Trupek. I direct scientific programming at Global Genes, primarily for the rarexsupport research program. So I've been meeting with Ryan very regularly as we've been leading up to this, but really most of the work that we've been doing is laying the groundwork for continuing to build out this platform. Some of the questions that have come in the chat that I've seen have been related to some specific types of surveys. It's worthwhile, I think, for all of you to know that rarexsupport doesn't build a lot of surveys from scratch, and that is very, very much by design. It would actually be easier if we did. But what we do is we really do a deep dive in landscaping into what kinds of standardized surveys are used in clinical research. And then we work with a variety of different experts. And when I say experts, I really mean like all kinds of different stakeholder experts. So that includes physicians who diagnose and manage patients. That includes all kinds of researchers who are involved in clinical trial design and conduct, but it also includes the patient community and patient advocates and getting their experience. So we get that input, and that drives the type of these standardized surveys that we end up ultimately licensing and then implementing on the platform. So what you see today is the start. There's plenty there for you to get started with, but there will also be more coming. Some of what's coming, we know, will include some of the Pompe specific measures that have been developed and that are currently being used in some of the clinical trials. Some other ones are just symptom-based areas where we currently have a deficit. Like we currently have a gap where we don't have a standardized measure that addresses the patient experience related to something. The one that stands out to me off the top of my head is pain. We don't have a standardized assessment on our platform today that addresses pain. So that's something that you'll see in the coming months as we work together with that multi-stakeholder expert working group. So I don't want to say more than that because I want to make sure we leave time for Q&A.
Thanks for that, Carmen. And we're on recruitment call while you're getting your questions fired up. The community is for all of us at any moment, at any time. So sign up there for staying in touch with things. If you want to take a more active role, participating in working groups, whether they be around some of these data initiatives, whether they be around engagement or empowerment, how do we do education back into the community? How do we set up infrastructure, these kinds of things? we're recruiting. So come on down and make your interest and your skills and your passion be known. And there's definitely a place for you to contribute to making our collective future that much brighter.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'll say that like once you decide to become more involved, we can put you to use no matter what your background or skill set or interest is. If it's in marketing, for sure, we've got things for you to do. If you love the science and you want to come and join some of the conversations that Ryan and I have, indicate that, but there's definitely a place for everybody.
Thanks everybody for your time today, and we'll get this up. We'll get this posted, and you'll have the opportunity to reach out by the links and the emails to ask questions later. Again, we're building a really ambitious project, and this is the start of it. And so, yeah, we're trying to reimagine how rare disease ecosystems function. So yeah, be patient, be exacting, set your expectations high and push for them. We're gonna want to live up to all that. Thanks everybody.